I have a lot of friends and I have a lot of people that I know in my world that are in the pharmaceutical industry. How much is on them? And is it really their fault, or is it the variables and the inconsistencies of the market globally that's creating the challenges maybe for them? I mean, they have challenges too, right? And how much of this gets put onto them?
Not to sound like I'm just repeating myself, but I do feel that there's the argument that they're a business and they're out to make profit. And while I can understand and appreciate that, when you're making billions and your CEOs are just being paid these outlandish salaries, to me, I just feel that companies that are providing medicine, they are creating and in a way providing these things. They have some sort of responsibility. It also is a really interesting when you start to think about some of these locations around the world where there's just barely any insulin there. It opens up another market for these companies if they are selling to people who previously couldn't afford it at all because they were dying. If they're now making it at a significantly reduced price, but they're still selling it to hundreds or thousands more people. It's a really complex question you ask, and I think there are a lot of differing opinions about it out there. But I think that they should be held accountable, and I think it's also important to recognize that there are other barriers, there are other things that make access and affordability a huge issue. But I personally think pharma can do a lot more, and rather than funding a lot of patient advocacy groups, which we've been hearing a lot more about in the news, not just with diabetes, but with EpiPen, for example, and different unquote patient advocacy groups that are taking a lot of funding from these companies, and thus encouraging these groups to not speak out against this issue. So it's multi-layered, and there's a lot of things to consider, but I think they can do more real things as opposed to some of these clandestine acts that they're doing at the moment.
Yeah, fair enough. I agree with what you say. And maybe it's also kind of this digitalization of the world and everybody now using social media and being able to connect on Facebook, being able to connect on email and phone and Skype around the world. That's really shining light on the realities that are there today for accessing medication.